Welcome to another segment of the CPO Arena. I am your host and moderator, Jon Hansen. And yes, you know what? You don't have my live video. I do have a face for radio, as I say, so it's better to keep it that way. However, let's turn immediately to our panel who have no such facial limitations and ask them to introduce themselves with a brief introduction, about 30 seconds. We'll start with Michael Cadieux. Michael, welcome again.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Mike Cadieux, former Chief Procurement Officer, and now I operate and I founded the Procurement Foundry, the fastest growing group for procurement and supply chain people on the internet. So good to see you all.
Great. Thank you, Michael. And let's next go to Cheryl Hayes. Cheryl, welcome once again. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Cheryl Hayes. I'm the Director of Procurement at Stryker. Spent several years at Dell, EMC Dell and Siemens, so quite a long history of supply chain and procurement, and delighted to be here. Thank you.
Great. And if I could remind both Michael and Cheryl to turn off your cameras, please. Let's turn to Hervé Legendre. Hervé, how are you? How are things across the pond, as they say?
Yeah, very good. Very happy to be back in the arena. You know, I'm the academic from Europe joining the arena on a regular basis. Always a pleasure.
And we get that global perspective, which is so important. Great to have you, Hervé. And if I could remind you to turn off your camera. And let's turn to Joseph Yakura. Joe, how are you?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Yakura. I'm former Senior Vice President, Chief Procurement Officer for American Express, Bank of America, Fannie Mae, Intercontinental Hotels Group, etc. Recently, I've created the International Association for Data Quality Governance and Analytics that focuses on supply chain and beyond. And come this fall, I'm going to be an adjunct faculty at the University of Arkansas in the Graduate School of Information Sciences. So glad to be here.
Some very interesting things you're working on, especially with the importance of data and clean data. So we'll be watching that even beyond the show itself. But just remind you, if you could, Joe, turn off your camera. And finally,
Absolutely.
last but not least, Kanda Rosier. Kanda, how are you? If you could just give us a quick 30-second overview, and we can get on with the show.
Okay, thanks, John. Good morning, everybody. I'm Kanda Rosier, a former CPO and head of facilities and real estate at several global companies. I'm now the president of Collabra Consulting, which is focused on procurement transformation and sourcing excellence. And I'm looking forward to today's presentations.
Great. As always, looking forward to hearing your insights as well, Kanda. If you could turn off your camera. Now, before I get to today's provider presenter, targetP, and I'll be introducing you in a few moments to Jan Henner-Thiessen and Stefan Weimers, I want to just give you a quick overview of the show outline. The presenter will give a brief overview as to who they are, their organization. They usually do this by video, but again, we leave that to their discretion. So that's in the first couple of minutes, and then they will progress towards demonstrating one of or a key feature of their overall solution, because again, we want to keep it within that 30-minute timeline or as close to it as possible. Once they've had the presentation and have gone through that, we'll turn to our panel, who will have 10 minutes to give them a question and answer session, if you will. And finally, in the last 5 minutes, we'll have what's known as a beef and bouquet. The bouquet, of course, is obviously the great things they see there. The beefs aren't so much of a negative as it is a critiquing in the way in which the information and what they've seen, what the panel has seen, and to offer their insights and expertise. So without further delay, I'd like to invite Jan and Stefan to turn on their cameras, and I'll turn over the sharing of the screen to you, and we'll take it from there.
Great. So thank you very much for having us today, John and the entire group. It's really a pleasure to be on your show. I think we're one of the very few European companies that get the opportunity so far. And I will just start a short presentation to talk a little bit about us and what we are doing. So today we would like to talk with you about our so-called targetP Supplier Intelligence Hub. And what this is, you will see just in a few seconds. To talk a little bit about us, today you will have the pleasure to talk to me, to Jan and to Stefan, We both work together for almost 10 years now. We are procurement people by heart. I started my career in procurement exactly 25 years ago in the oil and energy business. Went on to automotive and spent a couple of years working also for Echo, one of the largest agricultural companies globally, located in Atlanta. I spent almost 8 years of my life in the US, working in Michigan, South Carolina, as well as in Atlanta, Georgia. And Stefan was more or less my expert on the IT side. He joined me when I was working at Benteler and followed me to Echo. And since 4 years, we are running targetP. Stefan and I, we are heading targetP. And we are very happy that so far we could win a few very interesting customers, most of them global companies. Just one thing, and then we will go a little bit more into a virtual mode here. Just a quick warning: we are different. So we are not an IT company. We are not these typical consultants you probably know. We have a lot of industry experience. We have worked at the front lines, and we try to make things different. And we speak the language of procurement, which makes it easy for us to get into other companies. However, before I can continue to praise what we're doing, I would like to share a short video with you that tells a little bit more about who we are and what we do. All right, so that's enough about us. Let's talk about the solution. That's why we're here for today. We are procurement practitioners. That's what we did for many, many years. And what we've always found a little bit weird is that most of the cases, supplier management, supplier relationship management is somewhat static. And we have worked in industries where we have seen a lot of risk, where we have seen a lot of disruptions in our supply chains, in our environment. And that's why we said, hey, let's make supplier management a bit more dynamic. Let's put more data together to figure out how can we evaluate supply chains, how can we evaluate suppliers, and what can we do to also enrich the data sets and the work of our people. And we have a very clear purpose, and this is very simple. It's by procurement for procurement. So we are not a group of people that that tries to build a software solution and then probably scale it up and sell it and become rich or something. For us, it's a very important tool in our daily business, and it will stay an important tool of our daily business. So our aim is really to level up supplier relationship management in companies, especially in small and medium-sized companies. What we do differently probably than others is that we provide a 360 view on supplier and supply chain visibility using state-of-the-art technologies. And that's very important to us. Number one, we want to be effective. We want to deliver a platform that cross-functionally enables the teams to drive supplier performance. We want to be scalable, so we want to bridge the gap also for those companies that have probably a very complex IT landscape. So we strongly believe in modularity, and we strongly believe also in best of breed solutions, and this is how we contribute to the modern ecosystem in procurement. And last but not least, we are procurement people by heart. I have sourced a lot of technologies over the last 25 years, and I still believe that lots of the IT solutions on the market are way too expensive for what they deliver, and most of them are way too much focused also on larger corporations. And we still see a gap here in the solution landscape for small and medium-sized enterprises. And this is exactly the target market we have, even if our customer base currently has a lot of global corporations. And last but not least, we strongly believe in supplier relationship management as part of a competitive advantage. I think that's still underrepresented and underdeveloped in lots of companies, to make relationship management with your suppliers as a competitive advantage to drive value and to drive success. The good part of our solution, and probably the biggest asset, is the team behind it. The team that has developed this solution is a team of practitioners in procurement. We have won already quite a few very important awards in our past life with that solution, the German eSolutions Award and the German Logistics Award. It has been featured on the Forbes magazine quite a few times. We traveled all over the US to present it in Los Angeles, in Atlanta, in Florida as well. And again, we have global customers in place, which makes us really proud, even if the focus is on small and medium-sized enterprises. And last but not least, before we will jump directly into the tool, I just mentioned that we strongly believe in modularity and connectivity. And this is exactly what the architecture of the tool is about. It's cloud-based, and it's able to grab information from different sources. We have developed APIs with different standards. We have developed APIs so that we can grab information, for instance, from SAP. And that's what we believe in, that with a solution like that, help buyers as well as procurement leaders to put their supplier relationship management on a new foundation. And with that said, I would like to ask Stefan to take over and give us a brief insight into the tool.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jan, for the quick introduction, or the general introduction. So as you said, the overall solution, and now I have a technical issue because I cannot share my screen. That's a quick problem here.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Let me see what I can do. We can do one participant at a time. So I think Jan will have to stop sharing his screen, Stefan, and then, or here's what I'll do. I'll change it here so that multiple people can share at the same time. Oh, wait, free. Now you can share it, Stefan.
Perfect. So now you hopefully can see everything. Perfect. So let us focus on a quick solution walkthrough within the remaining five minutes. And let's first focus on the navigation bar, because this is going into the modular part, what we are developed and what we have available here. So the solution itself offers a range of interconnected modules, which then can be supported for strategic and also tactical use cases, and also for the communication collaboration between procurement, quality, and for sure other supply chain stakeholders. So it's all about supplier management and risks. It's all about technical procurement, including contract, commodity, and savings management, but also on the same side, the product development, quality, and audits, inclusive PPAP and APQP, such as non-compliance. And the best thing before we jump into the supplier management part is everything can be maintained and administrated by yourselves, by the procurement organizations, or by the different departments. So theoretically, no IT is needed to maintain this solution, only in case you are planning a kind of interaction or link to your ERP systems directly. So with this said, within today's session, let's focus on the supplier part. And here we are offering a state-of-the-art supplier management tool, including onboarding, including classification, audits, certificates, etc. So just in a few words, the whole supplier lifecycle. And if we go there, we are starting the extended supplier profile, which gather then all the different supplier-related information into a comprehensive and user-friendly dossier or overview, which you can see right now. So with the info page of the suppliers, we are getting a big overview, or a good overview about all the supplier-related information, such as relationship status, either overall or for the different business units and local entities, the different usernames, the different contact persons we need, but also on the right-hand side, a quick overview about the different contracts we have, such as specific information what we are sharing within the organization. With that said, from the info page, you see we have different tabs available. For today's session, just focus on the risk part again, because here you will gain more insights into the overall risk regarding this supplier. And here we are integrating with different data sources, but you will see an overall risk score and also the last and latest alerts to get a good overview about your suppliers. Beside that, jump to the tasks, and also this tool can be used for internal and external collaboration, and as I said, also for task and initiative tracking, so that you will see who is responsible, what are different due dates for tasks you're working together, either internally or with your suppliers. And last but not least, before we will jump to the performance and KPIs with all the other different tabs, we are building out the 360-degree view around your suppliers with all the different documents, results, APQPs, savings, and so on and so forth. And the performance as the last figure or information for today's session then will help you in terms of annual negotiations or supply performance reviews when you're jumping into these different discussions with your suppliers, that you have a good overview about on-time delivery performance, reworking costs as an example over the last 12 months or a specific time period. So everything aggregated into the solution. And the same information we also put together for specific KPIs. And to sum this up, what we have seen in this quick solution walkthrough today is, in all, the solution has the flexibility and has been specifically designed to meet the needs for both medium and large enterprises, and then for internal and external collaboration. And with that said, handing back to Jan from a solution perspective.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stefan. And just to quickly summarize, so what you see here has been developed by people with 10 years, 20 years procurement background. And when we started to develop this tool, we always said we need to get as many as we can different roles integrated into that tool. So it should serve the needs of a CPO, as well as it should serve the need of a category manager, as well as it should serve the need of a quality or a quality responsible quality manager and such. And for us, the important part was that it's easy to establish. So we think that we can, and we know that we can establish it or implement it in less than 5 days, even without IT support. Of course, a certain master data quality should be available. However, we also wanted to make it as much as we can independent from the IT and from IT resources, because we strongly believe that procurement these days needs to be more in the lead if it comes to designing their IT architecture, their digital architecture, and not too much rely on the IT departments. And with that said, I think we have delivered a solution that probably did not only win awards, but also that has been exciting to some of the new customers over the last 1 or 2 years. And Well, that's it from our side. I hope you could get a small impression about how to deliver a new way of managing supplier relationships. We strongly believe also in learning from the marketing teams. There is a lot of stuff in the customer relationship management going on that we could adapt from a procurement point of view. And one thing that we learned from the CRM environments is that if you take Salesforce, they have a very open setup, a very open configuration that allows us, that allows companies to plug and play solutions to build a more open ecosystems. And we believe that the same should happen in procurement as well, and get away from that static IT environment to a more best of breed environment, helping us also to plug and play according to the needs we have. So thank you again for listening, and we're open for questions.
Thank you, Jan, and thank you, Stefan. I want to remind you that I've left the screen sharing options open to both of you in case you want to refer back and respond to any of the panel's questions. And let's, without delay, get to the panel questions. I want to start with you, Cheryl. Any thoughts, comments, questions that you have relative to you'd like more information on?
Yeah, thank you. Great presentation. Thank you so much. Love procurement folks at heart. So I love that you're focusing on supplier relationship management, because to me, I totally agree with that. I think that's really how you get things done, right? But how do you teach that? You know, how do you go into organizations and teach that?
These days, honestly, it's pretty easy. One of the core topics that we currently do with our clients is building up supply chain risk management programs. So we have a large automotive company that we're working with. We have pharmaceutical companies, and now people are really open to let's say, new ways of managing supplier relationships, because lots of them got burned through the crisis. I mean, not only COVID-19, but now we have shortages on the container side. We have shortages in the semiconductor side. And one of the ways we are going, we do quite a lot of trainings in the area of category management, how to successfully manage categories, and supplier relationship management is a strong part of category management. So we have different kind of door openers. And last but not least, I think more and more people that we are meeting understand that in days where we all talk about digital tools and digitalization, human relationships getting even more important. And we have so many examples from our lives where digital tools helped us to identify risk or problems, but humans solve the problem. And I think if you convey that message, then people really open up for not only for risk management, but also for a new way of managing supplier relationships.
All right. And how long do you typically consult with a company? Like, how long has that process been for you? Is it a few months? Is it over a year? How long?
It depends. So most of the assignments are between 6 and 12 months, because we don't want to come in, create a PowerPoint and leave. Then I should have stayed in corporate business. I really love to execute. I really love to make things happen. The same for Stefan. So that's the reason why we usually have long-term assignments. And this is also how we started to sell or to market this tool, because we use it as a vehicle to get into the company and to help them increasing maturity. It's not about, again, we are not a startup. We will never be software salespeople. We are procurement people, and we deliver, let's say, the full package. On one hand, a tool, and on the other side, ideas how to make the organization better or how to professionalize procurement.
Do you feel you have competitors, or you have, what's your differentiator?
We have quite a few competitors. It's interesting. I spent the last 15 years on organizational transformation. So for two global players, I built up a new procurement organization. Usually, who's doing that? It's companies like Boston Consulting, it's like McKinsey, it's Roland Berger, and things like that. For whatever reason, we are getting this job these days because we can explain to the people that we have done it. We have felt the pain. We know how to overcome the pain. We are now mainly in Europe. We know how to deal with workers' unions, with works councils, which of course usually consultants do not do. So if there is a CPO that is looking for practitioners, we are in. If there is a CPO who's more looking for, I would say, the fancy setup with fancy slides, probably we're not the right ones. And we don't take these jobs, to be honest. That would be just frustrating for us as well.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for
Great
the
question, Cheryl. And I want to move on to Canada because I know, Canada, you have a hard stop coming up pretty quickly. So if you could, what questions do you have for Jan and Stefan?
Thanks, John, and Jan and Stefan. I very much liked the presentation. As to echo part of what Cheryl said, I think that supplier relationship management is really key, and it's often been overlooked, both from a practitioner perspective and also from a solution provider perspective. So I think what you guys are focused on is terrific. You referenced, I think, Jan, in one of your early comments, but you didn't go into much detail about the possibility of integrating your solution with an ERP. So just without maybe going through lots of detail, but who are some of the key either source to pay or P2P providers that you guys interface with, and then how do you think using an interface like that brings even more value to the solution you provide?
Yeah. The idea came up when Stefan and I were still working for Echo years ago. We had two initiatives. We had the initiative Supplier Relationship Management, and at the same time we started a Supplier Risk Management initiative because the industry was going down, the heavy machinery industry was going down. And when we started the initiatives, we said, you know what, it anyway has to be linked together. And what can we do to make life easy for the buyers so that they don't have to go into 2, 3, 4 systems? Mm-hmm. And that's when we started to do this integration project. We linked the solution to a provider called Risk Methods, which to me is one of the leading risk management data and transparency providers. We linked it to Dun & Bradstreet, so we had a long discussion with them how to open up their gates to get the data into our tool. We talked to an insurance company that provided information. So we programmed different APIs that now are part of the standard. These APIs are open to ERP system. They are open to, let's say, the bigger players on the market, like just said, Dun & Bradstreet and such. We also had discussions with other data providers in the US that would also have the opportunity to connect. And that's what we feel is the value add to everyone, because you have one place to go where you can grab all the information that is important to your supply chain as well as it is to your suppliers. And is there anything I missed with my answer?
Just to clarify one thing, so do you also have interfaces to what would be your underlying ERP, an SAP or a Coupa, Ariba, etc.?
Yes, that's what we have. It needs to be, of course, customized depending on the customer itself, but the architecture is open to whatever kind of connections. And yes, SAP connection we already have in place because Stefan and I needed that desperately a few years ago. So it's mature now. It's a mature technology and not just a starting point.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kanda. And let's go to Mike Cadieux. Mike, the floor is yours for your questions.
Hey guys, how are you? Great presentation. Thanks. I really appreciate it. I'm very interested in this hybrid model of intelligent design and support. I hate the word consultancy, but I'll use it. So I'm very interested in consultants that bring tools to the table, right? Like you said, I don't necessarily like folks who just bring PowerPoint presentations, go away, the big 3 or the big 4. have killed the market in that, in my opinion. But I like to see intelligent consultants who don't run, which I think is a great model, and congratulations on that. My question is this. So it looks like is it one product or is it two products? Like, can I buy the software without the consultancy? Can I buy the consultancy without the software? How does that all work? And also, it looks right now like your product is designed for somebody to come in. So you go in, you layer this on top of an organization, and you put all of this on top of their existing supplier database. Is there a way for me to go out and search for external suppliers and bring them into the system as well?
To start with your first question, we are not a software sales company, and selling software will never be our first priority. So I haven't found a better word for consultants, probably advisors. So
That's fine. Great.
We want to make procurement better. That's our number one goal. And the second goal is that we are selling or trying to sell the software in the US or the Americas only. So our main core is Europe, of course, because I'm located in Berlin, Germany. Stefan is located in the fabulous Bavaria in Germany. We have two people also in the US. However, the priority is always consulting or advisory business. And secondly, to answer your question regarding the system itself, it is one system, and either you use it to put it on top of your existing architecture because you feel that there is a gap in the way how to manage suppliers and to manage supplier relationships. But we also have seen already companies that have switched off their current products and have replaced it by this one. For instance, that's what we did at Echo. Echo switched off their SAP quality module, and for all 30 plants around the world, the quality management from parts approval to supplier quality management is done now in this tool. And the German railway, for instance, does it very similar in another area. If it comes to looking for suppliers, currently we need to have your database. So we need to have the data, but suppliers can qualify through that tool. It's like if you go with a typical procurement suite like Evalua or Jagger or whatever, there is something in there that you can fill a questionnaire, and then there's approval process behind it. We are currently debating a partnership with a very well-known company from Germany called ScoutBee. They are very much into that AI-driven supplier identification process. So we already had the first talks with them, but the question is, will that be integrated or not? We're not sure yet.
So question for you, if you go into an organization as an advisor, right, and you're trying to optimize them, you're trying to upskill them, you're trying to clean up their supplier relationship management environment, if the advisory services end, does the software stay behind?
Yes, we have different kind of licensing models.
Cool.
So if you and even if you are a company and you say, hey, that tool is great, but I don't like you guys, get it implemented and get off my property, that's fine for us as well. Then at least we have some revenue through that software. But at the end of the day, we try not to mix it up. First priority is consulting. Second priority is tool. If you just want to have the tool and 5 days help implementing it, we're good. We're done, and we're happy with it as well.
Okay. Long term, do you see yourself as an advisory service, or do you see yourself as a tech-enabled BPO for supplier relationship management?
That's a good question. So far, we call ourselves a boutique consulting firm because we are small. I mean, boutique is a fancy name for a small company, but now actually,
hey, I run one. I get it, man. I get it.
No, but actually, we have to see. I can't answer that question yet. So far, business is running well, and we are in a growing mode. But you never know what will happen in a year or two. Let's see.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great questions, Mike. Thank you. And let's now go to Hervé Legendre. Hervé, turn your camera on. I look forward to your questions.
Great, great. No, very happy. You know, in a world of digital, calling yourself a boutique is really a lot of charm and you know, human touch that I really appreciate. That's one of the things I saw in your dashboards is really these all this information about performance, about risk. One of the things that always get me concerned is the aggregation of data. So for instance, you know, you need to select a supplier for a certain business unit, and that supplier might have multiple sites. And very often we're impressed by the dashboard, but at the end of the day, it's just aggregated data that's coming from serving multiple business lines from suppliers with multiple sites, and that doesn't mean much. So have you found any kind of silver bullet to allow us to, you know, overcome some of these challenges?
Probably I will also hand that over to Stefan. We have to be honest, when we started the first implementation years ago, we spent quite some time with external partners on cleaning up our supplier database, because we had exactly what you just said, a company that grew from 0 to 12 billion in less than 25 years, 4 strong brands with sometimes 100, 120 years of heritage. You probably know Massey Ferguson Tractors, very well-known name. They have a long history. And in the first time of the history of the company, we had to integrate that data. And we got help from the outside. Stefan was spending almost 6 months on data cleansing, and that's also what we do right now with our customers. Today, we do have partnerships with companies, digital companies and non-digital companies that are specialized in data cleansing, so that we can help also to prepare the data. However, we do not have the silver bullet. I think that will take quite a few years before anyone will find that silver bullet. The good thing is there is not a lot of software out there these days that helps you to identify duplicates, that uses AI and such to clean master data. And this is also what we would use in this case. Anything to add, Stefan?
Yeah, and also what you have seen, and maybe then I can reopen the screen. On the info page, we have on the left-hand side what you can see here, the different subsidiaries. So you can link, and this is a journey we are seeing in many different companies, so that we start with the headquarter and then assigning step by step the different subsidiaries to have the linkage between the headquarter and the local entities on the one hand side, and also the tab called relations will help us to better understand how we are using this supplier internally with the different factories, and also then what is the specific relationship status and maybe different payment terms and Incoterms, so that exactly you have the monitoring fields and information you need to filter that out and harmonize the supply database.
And the last comment from my side, and I know this is not really popular, and especially not these days when people always talk about digital and become more strategic. To a certain degree, my expectation is still that the procurement leaders, as well as the category leaders or supplier leaders, are somewhat involved in the enrichment of the data. I mean, to some people it sounds weird. I strongly believe in it. I strongly believe that if I'm a category manager, I need to stay on top of my data, on top of my data quality, and make sure that I really understand what's behind the data. And to me, it's always a mix of technology and responsibility of people.
Thank you.
All right, Hervé, thank you so much. And let's wrap up the quick Q&A session with Joe Liakura. Joe.
Well, good morning. I really enjoyed the presentation. I like the idea of what you're attempting to do. I like the idea that you're focusing on value too, and not just unit costs, which most systems do. I got a couple of questions. Two are kind of on the commerce side of what you're doing, and the other ones are maybe a couple technical questions if we have time. My question is how do you price this? Do you price it a fixed fee? Obviously, there's a consulting side, it sounds like, that you perform in populating your system, and then you could hand it off. So how are you pricing this after, let's say, there's a consulting fee, which I understand would be a variable cost, but when you hand it off, is it a price per user? Is it a price per corporation?
It's a price per corporation, and we don't offer long-term agreements. If there is a customer who says, let's make a 5-year contract, I'm happy, but this is not where we're pushing the people into that direction. So we say, even if you want to have a yearly contract or 6 months contract to see if this works for you, if this helps, we would be fine with that. And we always sell corporate licenses, because I don't want to have the discussion about, hey, if we add one more user, how much does the price increase? And I mean, let's make it easy for the procurement people. And that's at least my experience. I never liked contracts like SAP or something that whenever you made a change, you had to have 50 negotiations. That's a waste of time.
Yep. Who actually owns the data? That's always a big question of mine. You know, obviously the data that's coming off of somebody else's system, they own that, it feeds it into your system, and then you create new data. Who owns the new data or the output of your system?
It's the customer. So
Okay.
we host the data, and we have certified hosting providers that have all the necessary certifications, even to support the NATO. But the data stays with the customer. When I was in the procurement shoes, I always said in my contract, I'm the owner of the data, and that's what I believe in.
Okay. One last question, because I know we're running out of time. This is more on a user aspect of it. You're collecting this data, and I can see on the graphs, you know, you're seeing things. I assume your system then sends alerts when certain criteria are exceeded or are beginning to approach from a risk standpoint. Is that correct? And how real time is that? I mean, you looked, I saw, and I was looking kind of quickly, it looked like you had a lot of information on weather, which I assume, you know, could affect logistics and things. So how real time are those alerts?
As much as you want it. If you really connect, let's say you own a risk management system and you push that data into our solution, you can immediately be informed about what is happening. So, and that's the same we do if it comes to contracts or if it comes to missing documents. Just to give you a number, Echo, I talked to my former colleagues at Echo last year, and they said in 2019, the system did send 700,000 reminders to the buyers as well as the suppliers. And of course, the majority was with the suppliers to remind them, you need to upload your new certificate, you need to complete the PPAP process, you need to do whatever you like. So it's real time.
Yeah. Is your system capable right now, as we speak today, not only to identifying the alert that you send because of some risk occurrence, but actually be able to interpret and make recommendations and actions?
No.
Okay,
No.
fine.
We have to.
That's fine. I was hoping somebody had that. That's the next step we're all looking for. But great. Well, thank you very much.
I had the discussion this morning with the risk manager of a large automotive company, and he was looking for the same. And we have to be honest, there's nothing on the market right now that helps.
Yeah, it'll get there, and hopefully you gentlemen will be part of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. All right, now let's move to the final segment of our show today, which is the beefs and bouquets. And I'm going to start off with you, Kanda. If you could turn your camera back on and give us the positives and the critiquing.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, John. I realized as I was thinking about my beef and my bouquet that they're actually very interrelated, and they're almost sort of two sides of a double-edged sword. So it sounds a little contradictory, but I'm going to start with the bouquet because it then segues to the observation. It's not really a beef. I really like the fact that you have that your solution is a bundling of advisory, consulting services, and the software solution, the tool itself. I think that's a great approach, and I think that because it sounds like you, at least up till now, have been really leading with the advisory component, particularly perhaps in Europe. That I think that is a great way, and I say that because as a consultant myself, it provides you with an opportunity to really showcase and highlight how your tool can bring real value. And so I think that's a great combination that you've brought. My observation is that because I think there's such a need, a crying need in the industry for supplier relationship solutions, and ones that are easy to use and ones that are really fully featured, that if you were to put a bit more emphasis on the tool, at least in these, a very quick presentation like you did today, I think that could even be more of a differentiator. So not to say in place of the advisory service, but I think that you could really do a lot to distance yourselves from a number of the competitors by putting a little bit more emphasis on the solution. But all in all, I think it's a great proposition that you've got, and I like the fact that your solution is both advisory service and tool. I think that's a terrific way to bring value to a client who might otherwise think they're going to have to go get two companies to bring that to them. So I really like it, and I'm going to be excited to see where to watch your trajectory over the future. So thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kanda. I want to now turn to Mike Cadieux again. Mike, what are your beefs and bouquets?
I'll start with the beefs because I like to give the bad news first, and then I'll give you guys some good news. All right. So the bad news is, listen, I think, and this is just preference, and you can tell me to go, walk off a cliff. I think your explainer video that you played in the beginning needs to be trimmed down a little bit. There's a lot there. I don't know if it's just my attention deficit disorder or that I'm working on my third coffee of the day, right? Yeah. But I was like, okay, I want to get to it. I don't want to see you guys. You guys have got a really valuable thing here. I don't want to see you lose somebody in a 2.5 minute explainer video. I want to be able to say, is your supplier management system screwed up? We are an advisory, a tech-enabled advisory company. We can help you right now, and we're an operating expense, and you don't have to staff up against it. Like boom, boom, boom. I'm done. Let's call me if you have these problems. Call us. Right, nice and easy. I also think I like the idea of you. So that's my only real beef. And listen, I understand that your product's going to be morphing. You're going to be adding more things in as people ask for it. I completely understand that. I understand where it sits in the life cycle of vendor onboard, supplier onboarding. So once the supplier is acquired, they then come into the system. I like that a lot. I think that from a Bouquet perspective, I think you have a very solid future as a tech-enabled business process outsourcing. So instead of going in and trying to teach people how to do their supplier relationship management better, and oh, by the way, we enable our advisory services through our own homegrown tool, and it integrates into X, Y, and Z. I think long-term, your play probably is, long-term contract. Hey, just give us your supplier relationship management, and we'll be that part of your procurement department for you. Because let's be honest, it's getting harder and harder to find talent around the world and budget to be able to keep headcount. So if you can provide me that piece of my overall procurement and supply chain strategy as an outsourced business process, I think you guys have got a great road ahead of you. And I love the fact that you're international. I don't meet a lot of people who can play in the European theater and in the US market, especially at your size. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Thank you, Mike. And by the way, Jan, this segment is being recorded. I'll send you the excerpts of Mike's finger snapping there because we can incorporate that, maybe make that the video.
Super.
All right. Next, let's welcome Hervé Legendre. Beefs and bouquets, Hervé.
Yeah, no. What I really like, I'll start by the very positive side. What I really like about what I've seen is this potential of we can put problem solving on data steroids. So we can help you to accelerate the time it takes to solve problems, to better select supplier, to identify some risk, because we've got this combination of advisory services, but also some ways to bring the data into a form that can really support that in a good way. And one of the So in terms of things where I'm a little bit more concerned is, first, you should present it better from that point of view, and start with some use case that really show how you've been able to, improve performance. And the last point I have is the risk of being a bit stuck in the middle of, being too much focused. Sometimes you're a small group. If you're suddenly taken a lot into advisory service, will you have the time, the energy to continue to develop the tool so it stays at, the state of the art level that you need to make it this booster to solving problems? And till you have reached a certain size, this is a dual strategy that can be challenging, I think.
Yeah, great comment.
All right, Hervé. Thank you so much. There's always a unique perspective. Let's now go to Joe Yakura. Joe, beefs and bouquets.
Yeah, I think some of the things have already been said by some of the other members of the panel here, but I think it's the messaging needs to be further enhanced. What Hervé was just saying right now is, with the consulting aspect of it, obviously there's a limitation if human resources need to be allocated, so that could seriously implement or impede your ability to grow and expand. I like the product though. I really think it has great potential. It's easy, it's simple. One of the things, and I think Hervé was said too, if you could lead with some use cases, like example, he said, here, you're not doing this today, but if you were to do that, here's what you would need, and here's how we can solve that at a much lower cost, right? And greater efficiency. So I think if you had to come up with that, it may not be an actual use case, you can, create simulations and things, whatever you want to do it. One thing I failed to ask, and I'll just ask right now, but when you said your focus is small to mid-sized businesses, what do you mean by that? What is a mid-sized business in your mind? And I know we shouldn't be asking questions now, but I just wanted to get clear again.
Now that's a good question. We once said companies with the procurement spend of around 100 million, this is where it starts to get interesting. And if we can go up easily, the German railway has 40 billion, sorry. But we said between 100 million spent up to 2 billion, 3 billion, but it can easily serve bigger. But we know that the smaller ones do not really have something in place yet.
Right. Well, thank you very much. I think you have a very interesting product, and I think you have a great future.
Thank you.
Some more great insights. Thank you, Joe. And finally, let's wrap up with Cheryl Hayes. Cheryl, your beefs and bouquets.
No real beefs. Again, I think it was a great product and great presentation. You're kind of seeing a trend here. I mean, focus on the supplier management piece, because this is the first, tool and advisory firm that I've heard of that actually focuses on that. So that to me is your differentiator. And then when you present that, make sure that that's front and center. And I think, that will take you very far, because it's not easy to kind of teach that. So if you can kind of take that over and provide that, I think that's a good differentiator. The only other thing, maybe it's not really beef, but I didn't see was any tool or focus on diversity and sustainable product. And, that's becoming very important in companies. So it might be something to consider.
Yeah, I fully agree. And this is what we do with external partners, where we can integrate their data if it comes to compliance and sustainability. But we don't feel right now big enough to do it on our own. We partner there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I have to tell you, it was very insightful today. And the tips, Mike's, your tips are getting to the point, having better presentation. The one takeaway, I guess I would look at this, Jan and Stefan, is the product is solid and attractive. So I guess that's the good starting point. You can always build a better messaging on there. But I'd like to thank you, both of you, for coming on and presenting the targetP solution. And certainly this recording will be broadcast within the next couple of weeks. And of course, we'll make the synopsis available afterwards for download, which will cover some of those things. But gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet you.